You're listening to episode number 31 of the Indie Film Tribe podcast with me, your host, Angela Matamocha. Welcome. Hi there, good people. Hi. Angela Matamocha here of Indie Film Tribe. Thank you so much for joining me again today. Today, I am super excited, and I know I say this all the time, but today I really am just so excited and so honored to have this fantastic lady on the line with us here today. She is a film producer. She is also an entrepreneur, and she is the founder and CEO of Seed&Spark. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring to you Emily Best. Emily, welcome.
Hi. Thank you for that incredible welcome. It's wonderful to be here.
Oh my
and
gosh.
Hello to the tribe, which is funny because Tribe was the name of the first single purpose entity company I created for my very first feature film.
Really?
Yeah, I own Tribe LLC, 1/3 with my two other producers. Yeah.
Oh, that's so great. And I think that really speaks to what you are even doing with Seed&Spark. I feel like it is creating a tribe, and it has that sense of community, which I really love, that I don't see on a whole lot of other crowdfunding platforms. Okay, so I know this is going to be an action-packed episode, so I just want to dive right in. Emily, first and foremost, what is it that you love about crowdfunding, that you love about running Seed&Spark?
Wow, that's a great question. What I love about crowdfunding is it's the first real material tool for entrepreneurship that filmmakers have been given that we entirely own. It's a little tricky, right? Because crowdfunding is not the great democratizer it has promised to be. If you're in a community or you're speaking to an audience that has more money, it is easier to raise money than if you're speaking to an audience that doesn't have as much money. That's a fact. And there are really incredible audiences out there from underbanked communities who actually have a hard time participating in online transactions. So what I love about crowdfunding is it's like a heat-seeking missile for some of these complexities, and it helps us tease out all of the ways in which we have to support creators who come from really diverse backgrounds. So the baseline thing that I love about it is a chance to focus on the one thing that filmmakers need to build truly independent, sustainable careers, and that's building a relationship with their crowd or their tribe, if you want to call it that. I think it would be just better if we called it tribe funding, frankly.
Tribe funding, I love it.
Yeah. But it requires a lot before you can actually get to the funding part. You have to do a lot with the crowd. And so really exceptional crowdfunding comes out of a longstanding building of a relationship between a creator and their audience. And the important thing about that, especially in the digital age when so many of the distributors are buying all rights, all territories in perpetuity, is that, and then they're delivering you back no data about anything that you have made or anybody who's watched your stuff, is a relationship and information that nobody can buy from you. When you have a direct relationship with your audience, when you have their emails, when you're communicating directly with them, it makes your intellectual property valuable even before it's created, right? So if you have this relationship with an audience that's really excited to see your stuff, every time you have an idea about what to make for them, that idea is already valuable. And look, when we're talking about especially underrepresented creators, what we know is white guys' ideas already have value. Women, people of color, differently abled, basically everybody else, our ideas don't have merit until we either have creds, and even then the creds usually aren't enough, or we can really demonstrate an audience that is really like rabid for the thing that we're making. And like, that's just sort of a fact of the way that the business is now. Yeah. And crowdfunding is a really, really powerful, actually, suite of tools that allow you to make your ideas valuable because there's already an audience that like wants what's in your head. Does that make sense?
No, it does. It makes total sense. And one of the things that you said about having an audience, a tribe, so to speak, and speaking with them. One of the things that I notice on your site, there seems to be this magic number that appears more than once, 500. So for 500 people, once you have 500 people, on this list, and I guess this 500 people then becomes your tribe. I'm just curious, why 500?
That's interesting. We were just having that conversation in our meeting this morning.
Oh.
So in some respects, 500 is a little bit arbitrary, except that the vast majority of crowdfunding projects have an average contribution size of a little over $100, which means if you're raising 10,000, it's from 100 people. If you're raising 20,000, it's from 200 people, and so forth. And most crowdfunding projects are raising 20,000 or less. But what we want which means like if it were just about how many funders you had, you know, on average, a crowdfunding campaign would gather you 200 audience members. But what we really want to emphasize for filmmakers is that you have to be thinking about growing your crowd outside of just the people who are funding you. You have to prove that that you are like doing the stuff you need to do to get the attention of future audience members. Because your funders, frankly, have paid for the chance to see your film already or watch your movie or show already, right? Those people, in addition to your funders, are the ones who are like, I can't wait to pay for it when it's finished. Those are really important people, not just to know about, but to grow well after your crowdfunding campaign has finished. So we set the target of 500 and we dangled a lot of carrots for filmmakers to get there because we think that's a place where like your audience data becomes meaningful. So we're not just like a typical crowdfunding platform where you get money from people and you get their email addresses. We gather a lot of information about your audiences that they volunteer. We're not like being creepy in the background, except where they allow us to authenticate via Facebook. But we find out from them what platforms and devices they prefer to watch on and what other kinds of content they like to watch so that you start to have a meaningful picture of the way your audience likes to consume things. Why is that important? Well, if you are crowdfunding, for example, for production, and you're thinking about what camera to shoot on, if all of your audiences report watching stuff on computer screens, right, that are like 13 to 15 inches, maybe you don't shoot in 6K RAW and spend $10,000 on hard drives, right? So yes. Part of it is like making that negotiation between business and creative decisions, right? That might make your cinematographer mad, but it's going to make your pocketbook happy. Yep. Similarly, if you're crowdfunding for festivals and distribution, and you find out like I have like 50 to 100 people really concentrated in 7 cities each, right? So I have 500 or 600 followers and they all happen to be in these 7 cities and most of them report liking to watch things in theaters. Well, that's an interesting argument for maybe where you might want to release theatrically if it makes sense. Does that make sense?
It does.
This is about like taking information that your audience gives you to help you make smart business decisions about how to distribute your film. And we've never really been able to do that before because all of the information about your audience is owned by someone else who has no meaningful reason to share it with you. In fact, you know, platforms like Netflix don't share any viewership data, even with their most celebrity partners, because that's their leverage against the studios. They never want to give up how many people are actually watching because then somebody will be able to evaluate whether or not the license fee they're paying is legit or not. Wow. They lose all their leverage, right? And it's just not in their business interest to give a shit what that does to an independent filmmaker who is trying to get data so that they can go to the investors in their next project and say, this is how many people watched the movie, right? And so we're really trying to solve a set of career building problems for independent filmmakers that allow them to build independent, sustainable careers that will make them more valuable if they do get picked, but will allow them to have those sustainable careers if they don't get picked, right? Like, we're all waiting to get picked by, I don't know, a studio or a major distribution platform or a sales agent or a festival. And that's not a career. Waiting to be picked is not a career. So we're trying to build a full suite of tools, funding, audience building, data gathering through distribution, that allow filmmakers to actually make their way towards a sustainable career. And not everyone wants to work towards a studio job, right?
It also makes me think just the value of all this analytics. If you're, doing a survey, what have you, and you find out that, maybe 80% of your audience watches their content on iTunes, or vice versa, 20 on iTunes, 80 on Amazon Prime, let's say. So that would inform me as a filmmaker saying that might want to self-distribute. Let me get my film up on Amazon or what have you. I think that is so valuable because there are so many platforms out there. And here's one of the things I wanted to ask you too. We're sort of veering gears for just a sec. Kickstarter has been around forever. Indiegogo has been around. How did you... Because what you did is very bold. So and it's amazing, but as an entrepreneur, what was your thought process like? You know what? I'm just going to create my own freaking platform just for filmmakers. How did that come about? That's freaking amazing.
I wish I had I wish I had this sort of story that's like, and I was like, fuck them all. Like, I'm it. I have a better idea. It didn't go like that. I was making my own first feature film with a group of women, and we were making the feature film because we were sick of the way women were portrayed in movies. And we were all creators. I was producing theater. I had never had even any designs on the film business, but I was not happy with the reach of the theater, right? Like, I was performing mostly to white-haired white people or other actors. That's sort of the audience for theater in New York City. I mean, that's changed obviously in the last few years, especially with amazing things like Hamilton. And but this is now, a lot of years ago. And when a group of women who were relatively untested wanted to make a movie about women we recognized, with an audience we believed of 51% of the population, we were told things like, "There's no audience for a movie like this. We don't know how we would distribute it. We don't really know, how." So we had a really hard time financing it. And crowdfunding was really new. This was 2010.
Oh, wow.
And 2011. It was very new. So Kickstarter and Indiegogo had really just started. And our friends knew about them, but our friends' parents didn't. And our friends were broke. So we were not trying to get in front of our friends. And so we were trying to do something with this movie. We were trying to say something about the way women were portrayed. We didn't know if we were going to be successful. This was going to be the first feature film for all of us in every position. New director, new writers, new producer, new everything. We were brand new. Except for Caitlin, who co-wrote and starred in the film. She had done a bunch of feature films. But we needed a way to raise money, but we didn't feel good about saying hey, we need to raise this pile of money so we can go off to Maine for the summer and shoot this movie. We really wanted to give people a sense of what it was going to take us to make the movie. And it didn't take us maybe that long to land on this concept of a wedding registry. So we listed the items that it would actually take us to make the thing. So people had a real material sense of exactly what their money was going to, and they could fund what was interesting to them. So we listed all the things we needed: the camera and the lighting, the grip and electric and the, hard drives and all that stuff. We also listed things like coffee and craft services and meals. And we listed things like bug spray and sunscreen because we were in Maine in the summer and those were the most valuable things we could possibly have. And this was early enough on that Facebook still had this function called the note, the Facebook note. So you may not even remember, Facebook posts used to have a character limit. And then if you wanted to try to blog on Facebook, which everybody does with their status updates now, you had to open this new thing called a Facebook note. So I have a Facebook note with this original wish list in it. And we sent it to everyone we knew and put a PayPal link on Facebook and in emails. Like there were 6 of us women on this team. We sent it to all of our Facebook friends, which at that time was probably like 100 each.
Right.
And then emails to all of our friends and family. And we needed to raise $20,000 in cash. We raised $23,000 in cash and literally hundreds of thousands of dollars in loans and gifts of locations and goods and services. So locations all of a sudden, like people in the Maine community who heard about what we were doing started offering their houses and their spaces, the most unbelievably beautiful locations you could possibly imagine. A local car dealership loaned us their cars. And this local used car salesman in Rockland, Maine, read our script and called me and said, Emily, I think I know what cars these women would drive. And can I tell you, his vision was exactly aligned with ours.
Wow.
So he had like a piece of, I'm not kidding, this was a man I had never met before, right? And brought his creative input and then gave us the cars for free and was not mean to us when we brought one of them back with a dent in the bumper. I still don't know how it got there. We got 60 pounds of coffee from a local coffee shop.
Wow.
That kept us caffeinated throughout the whole, really caffeinated throughout the whole shoot. My cousin, who at that time was working in Lake Tahoe in like a ski warehouse, drop shipped me a case each of bug spray and sunscreen. Like somebody who would not ever have money to just like throw at a film, but was a hero. He was like a legend among the cast and crew for this shipment, right? So it just created this tribe of people. And I think it was 440 people in the end who ended up contributing something.
Wow.
And then as we moved into post-production, we started telling this story, and like financiers and stuff would get really excited about what we did. And then I can't remember the first time somebody was like, would you ever make that available to other filmmakers? And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And I started thinking about, I was really impressed by how engaged our audience became.
Right.
And we were getting stuff from people who didn't know us, but who thought the opportunity to like buy makeup for a film set was cool, or buy a meal for a film set was cool. And then we premiered the film at the Maine International Film Festival a year to the day from when we started shooting. So it was a really aggressive post-production schedule.
So fast.
It was super fast.
Wow.
And I'll never forget when the mayor of the town where we were shooting raised her hand after the film and said, thank you. I feel like I've been waiting my whole life to see a movie like this. And honestly, like the film is a very like sophomoric first effort, and we all look back on it with a lot of fondness and a little bit of embarrassment. And if you want to watch it, it's called Like the Water, and it's on Seed&Spark. It's very much a first film. But she was really also commenting on, there were 9 of us women standing there together who had all worked on the film. And I started to realize, and this was something we would hear over and over again at festivals. We went to like 15 or 20 festivals all over the world. And everywhere we went, somebody who contributed to the campaign or somebody who knew somebody who contributed would show up and bring their friends. We're like, that's interesting, right? And then there were all these women standing up being like, thank you, I needed that. Like, there I am. I really identify with her. We have very like flawed, kind of messed up main character. I think what really started to get the ball rolling for me was when I started to speak to sales agents. And I had this experience with all these women really excited about this movie. And then sales agents saying things to me like, if you could put some lesbian erotica in it, then I could sell it.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, so if I could make this movie for a male audience, you would know what to do with it.
Exactly.
And that was like, I don't know if it's just my like feminist ire that really kicked this off, but I was like, you're not going to pigeonhole me, motherfuckers. Sorry. And so I started to think about this tool for building a meaningful relationship with your audience that would give you leverage against these dumb sales agents who are like, there's no audience for this, or we don't know how to sell it. And you could be like, hey, guess what? There is an audience for this. Here's where they are. Here are their email addresses. Like, here's what we know about them. And here's what they have to say about what you said. But then I started to realize, like, I don't want to do anything to help the like rent-seeking middlemen. I want to disintermediate the relationship entirely, right? Like, why should we then have to go to the sales agents once we've done this? Why can't we go directly?
Yep.
And I will say there is definitely a place for sales agents.
No, absolutely.
In the project, I'm not denigrating the entire like class of people.
No, I understand.
The ones at American Film Market. Just kidding, but not really. Anyway, so I think what I really like came to was I wanted to help filmmakers build meaningful relationships with their audiences through crowdfunding. And that was when I came up with a brilliant idea of something called the Independent Media Wish List. It is the worst name. It's an even worse acronym. And yeah, it's awful. It's awful. I am MW I am W. Anyway, it's awful. It's awful. There's nothing good about it, except it's like one squiggly line if you write it all together.
Right, that's great. Love it.
I was also starting a production company with a slate of films that I was going to call Seed&Spark.
Oh, interesting.
And once I started diving into this crowdfunding platform idea, the people that I was going to potentially finance the production company were like, that is the thing that's really interesting to me, and you can only do one. And
only do one, meaning like to get the funding for the production company or to get funding for this fundraising platform?
You can only execute on one of those.
Right.
You have to pick a focus.
Yes, absolutely.
It was one of the co-founders of Kate Spade who said that to me.
Oh, wow.
She's like, you're not going to be able to do both of these things. And I was like, well, you know more about starting a business than I do. And so I weighed it heavily and applied with one of my feature films to the Sundance Producers Lab. And I don't even remember what happened. I just remember I didn't get in. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to throw myself fully into this opportunity to maybe get hundreds, if not thousands, of projects made. And that was really the foundation of Seed&Spark.
That is amazing. And one of the things that I love about what you did in the initial launch of Seed&Spark is the fact that you launched Seed&Spark on Seed&Spark. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, it was. So that you're talking about the crowdfunding campaign?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was like 5 or 6 months into, like, we launched Seed&Spark, and then we did a crowdfunding campaign for Seed&Spark about 6 months later because we wanted to know from the inside how the platform was working.
Yep.
And the answer at that time in 2013 was not very well, technically speaking.
Right.
And number 2, we were trying to develop a meaningful education program for filmmakers to not just successfully raise money, but successfully do this thing about building audiences. We wanted to learn from the inside, well, what would we need to know? And what are the set of features and so forth? And we developed the education program, and it took us quite a while we had to rebuild the website from the ground up technologically. And that didn't launch till 2015. So from the fall of 2014 to the fall of 2015, I was on the road with one of my co-founders, Erica Anderson, teaching a workshop that we developed called Crowdfunding to Build Independence. And even
it's on your Seed&Spark website. It's amazing.
It is.
It's amazing.
Yeah, the crowdfully class is there.
You guys are so cute with your little jumping around. It's adorable.
Oh, thank you. So silly. Mara Tasker, who shot and edited that series,
so cute,
spent weeks in the editing room cackling. We could hear her from the office.
I bet.
The outtakes.
I bet.
Which somewhere is definitely a set of outtakes because of which Erica and I will never be able to like run for office or get famous for anything.
It's so cute. I love it.
Mara's like, I still have those.
I love it.
So we went on the road with this education tour, and what was interesting is our crowdfunding success rate went from 50%, which was already high, to 65, and then it crept up to 70, and then it crept up to 75. Obviously the success rate crept up particularly after we launched the new platform, which works very well now. But in that time, we also were out there learning from filmmakers in every city. And I'm talking Bay City, Michigan, Chattanooga, Tennessee, Missoula, Montana, Camden, Maine. Like, we were all over the place. We were learning from all these filmmakers what their challenges were. And I think ultimately, you know, it's really challenging, I think, when you are trying to serve a multicultural market to accurately like represent and reflect the challenges of a multicultural market, because they are multiple, right? And they're not the same, and they can't all be addressed in the same way. And we could never possibly, at this size company, build a team that like accurately reflected all the different kinds of people we're trying to support. So what we've really done is our education program, which is about helping filmmakers get really good at successfully building audiences and fundraising and understanding what that can do for their career and why it's important. We're out there listening to find out what else we need to be building into the platform to make it work in Chattanooga and Missoula and Atlanta and Chicago and so on and so forth. Like we are really, I don't want to build yet another niche platform. I want to build something where everyone who is considered niche is actually central.
Love that. Love that. Love that. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for sharing that. Just the whole story and the whole arc of Seed&Spark and how you came to be. That's just incredible. All right. I want to switch gears. One of the things that we are passionate here at Indie Film Tribe is creating socially conscious content, right? And I know that, as you just explained with Seed&Spark, one of the sparks, if you will, for you was that you did not like the way women were represented in the media, so you decided to create something yourself. Is there, with all the experience and all the projects that you've seen, is there a way, and I'm sure there's probably more than one, a way that a filmmaker can leverage a theme, a socially conscious theme, to either A, gain an audience and crowdfund, or maybe both? Is there any leveraging power in creating something that has social significance like that?
Well, I think there's huge evidence for that, in that documentaries typically perform the best as a class in all the movie and show crowdfunding that's done. Documentaries raise the most money. Why? Because they tend to be about a single issue, and they tend to have very identifiable audiences that can be activated because they belong to other organizations, because they collect in groups, etc. And for narrative filmmakers, I think, look, what doesn't work in crowdfunding is crowdfunding something that looks like what we could see from Hollywood. So like, if you're just making another rom-com with nothing different or interesting about it, that's just like another kind of funny movie, generally speaking, those don't do that well in crowdfunding. You will pretty much only snag like friends and family of the team. What does well is when the project stands for something. That doesn't mean the subject matter has to stand for something. You might be making a great rom-com, but it is a queer Muslim main character. And what you're doing in making a rom-com is also giving a genre to an experience that is typically underrepresented in a very like universally themed way. Like the rom-com is like such a consumable kind of content, but who you're putting in it or who you're putting behind the scenes, right? These are ways in which you can activate audiences who care about things in the world, right? And generally speaking, now I can't remember if I said this when I started the answer to this question. This is what happens when you have a baby: is your brain just goes mush.
Congratulations.
Yeah, he's 11 months old now. I don't know how much longer I get to use this.
Yeah, good. Let's say 16 months, right? Yeah, that's awesome. Okay. Yeah. So
7 more months of this of just completely forgetting, and after that it'll just be my age. When your project stands for something above and beyond the material,
yes,
is when it does best in crowdfunding, is when it is easiest to identify an audience that you want to speak to. There's a great example recently. Alex DeBranco is a creator based in Los Angeles. He has written a series called The Distance that is based on the long-distance relationship that he had with his girlfriend for 3 years.
Oh, wow.
And they just did a big crowdfunding campaign on Seed&Spark. And afterwards, Alex, who is so good at social media, like so funny and just stellar. His posts are always stellar. He was like, I'm struggling to sort of figure out how to activate an audience for sort of something that is more broadly like a rom-com kind of series. And I said, well, what if you really started to make this account, right? The Distance, like Instagram or Facebook account. What if you made it a place for people to talk about their experiences in long distance relationships? That was like, we were eating ice cream one day and I was like, I don't know, maybe that would work. Well, Alex went and did his research and discovered that the hashtag LDR, long distance relationship community on Instagram is massive.
Wow.
And so the production stills of his series are interspersed with questions and teasers specifically for people having this experience. And his, sort of sweet, lovely rom-com. And the cool thing about The Distance is it's a series where each episode has 2 separate episodes. One is from his perspective and one is from her perspective.
Oh, wow.
And his perspective is directed by a male director and her perspective is also directed by a female director. So you have these like 2, you're getting a chance to like examine the sort of like male-female gaze and male-female experience.
That's interesting.
It's super interesting. But really, like where his show matters to people is talking about an experience that is so personal to so many different kinds of people. And he figured out where the people who cared about that were hanging out, and his show's Instagram feed has become like, a sort of central brand. He posted some question the other day, like, when is the next time you're going to see your I think he said bae or boo or beloved. Yeah. I can't remember. And it had 108 comments within an hour or 2. I was like, wow, he's nailed it. Right. So part of it is like, yes, I'm making a show. I'm making a rom-com show, but I'm actually making something that might be really meaningful to people who are having a very particular experience. And I have to go out and find where they are and why this would matter to them and how to interact with them that in a way that they want to interact with it.
That is such a great example, because one of the things that you said earlier that I was actually going to ask you, you brought up this idea of activating your audience. So I'm thinking, activate your audience. Well, how do you know where your audience is? Like, who do you activate? How do you activate? And this is just a perfect example of that. He did some research, found the hashtag, whatever that acronym was, about long distance relationships, and boom, that's amazing. And that really also speaks to, and I know you can speak on this as well, the value of research. Yes?
Look, it's crazy to me that we will spend, as filmmakers, days, weeks, months researching a character, a backstory, a location, and then when it comes to audiences, filmmakers will be like, well, how could I ever find out who my audience is? And I'm like, I think you're probably really good at research. Right? And so we have part of the workshop that's online is about this, about sort of figuring out who your audience is. Part of what you have to do is just talk to people and see who's interested in what you're making and find out more about them. Where do you hang out online? What publications do you read? Who are you following on Twitter and Instagram? Like, what kind of news do you like? What kind of music do you listen to? Anything that will help you kind of follow the trail for other people who are like that, you know? Not everybody's audience is as clearly defined necessarily as people in long distance relationships. But chances are the internet has gathered some group of people that are relevant to the thing that you're making. And I will say, like, if the project doesn't stand for anything or doesn't sort of, represent an audience you can identify, it may have a harder time crowdfunding. And frankly, it will just have a harder time getting distribution, period.
That's very interesting. All right. Before we switch gears, I want to ask you one more thing about to speak on one thing that you mentioned before. When you first started your film, when you first started, gathering your team, there were 6 of you. You said there were 6 of you that would send out these emails, that would reach out to all of their friends and family. For a filmmaker that wants to, jump on Seed&Spark and, launch a campaign, can you speak to the importance and the value of actually having a team, that you cannot do this alone?
Yeah, we like to say, friends don't let friends crowdfund alone.
Because I see it all the time.
I know, it's really depressing because that person's having a really bad time.
A really hard time.
Here's the thing. You're going to build a team to make your movie.
Right.
That entire team should feel super motivated to build an audience for that movie. So they should be participating in the crowdfunding campaign. We recently did a crowdfunding campaign for a series on which I am a co-creator called Fuck Yes. It's a digital series about sexual consent. An episode I directed is playing at Outfest tonight.
Oh my gosh, brilliant.
Yeah, which is really exciting for All Girl Friday at Outfest. And there are 9 of us on the team. And because we all have full-time jobs, the spare time of 9 people is what it took to raise the $20,000 or $22,000 that we raised. I'm not saying that all $20,000 campaigns take 9 people, right. But in this case, because we were raising for something that's sort of narrow, and we weren't trying to get like big splashy press necessarily. Our goal was 15,000, so we overfunded by a little bit. We hit our stretch goal, but it took, because people were like making and editing videos, and people were reaching out to press, and people were doing the social media, and people were making partnerships, and people were dealing with updates, and people were dealing with getting cool stuff for incentives. So all of those things were happening, and we were not in pre-production, right? That's really important. Pre-production is a separate phase. Like, the actual period, the 30 days of crowdfunding, should be treated kind of like you're in production.
Production, totally.
It is at least one full-time job. So if you already have a full-time job, you need to assemble a team of people who collectively can work one full-time job on your crowdfunding campaign. Part of it is like, you just don't want to be only going to one network, right? And part of it is that it's exhausting. You wouldn't shoot a movie by yourself, right? And so I hear filmmakers being like, yeah, well, like not everybody on my team wants to participate in the crowdfunding campaign. And this is crazy to me because everyone will benefit if the film that they're working on has a wider audience.
Yes.
So I have no problem. I'm producing a feature film now that has some like named talent attached. And I have said to them up front, there will be a crowdfunding campaign and you are expected to participate because it will benefit all of us for it to be successful. And if you're not down with that, then I'm not down with hiring you.
That's so smart.
So if you don't feel responsible for making this film a success beyond like, I only do this one job, like I'm not interested.
This is great. You have so much going on with Seed&Spark, not just, the fundraising campaigns. You have the educational component. You have the distribution component. You have the streaming component. It's a streaming platform as well. With all of this kind of stuff, before we head out today, Emily, what are you most excited about right now?
Oh man, so week before last, we announced a partnership with the Duplass Brothers for something called the Hometown Heroes crowdfunding rally. A crowdfunding rally is like a large-scale call for crowdfunding campaigns that are all going to run at the same time. And in this case, it is for narrative feature films that are shot and produced in hometowns. Really what we're trying to do is give people an opportunity to have a Hollywood shot by creating sustainability in their own hometown. So you have an idea for a movie you've always wanted to shoot in your hometown, or maybe you're already trying to build a career in your hometown, and you crowdfund that during this period on Seed&Spark, which will be from September 12th to October 13th.
September 12th to October 13th?
Yep, you have to raise a minimum of $7,500 to advance your narrative feature film to the next phase, from pre-production to production, production to post, etc. If you need to raise more than $7,500, you absolutely should. That's just the minimum. You have to gather 500 followers, and 10 finalists, based on the greatest number of followers, will get a chance to pitch the Duplass Brothers to receive up to $25,000. And the Duplass Brothers will come on board as executive producers. And what I think is amazing about that is, now having worked with them on this campaign, what I know is they don't do anything halfway, and they are so productive. So if they're going to come on as executive producers, they're going to help you get to festivals, they're going to help you get distribution. It's a career-making opportunity for the winning filmmakers, and they will pick up to 5 winners. So it's a tremendous opportunity. The cool thing is, we also have a whole bunch of local and state film offices and local and state resources participating, so that, if you're a Virginia filmmaker, there are extra perks and prizes if you're a Virginia filmmaker. And if you're a Florida filmmaker, there are extra prizes if you're a Florida filmmaker. G Technology is throwing in a giant, I think, 10 terabyte drive for one of the grand prize winners. Able Cine has a week-long Canon package with prime lenses.
Oh, brilliant.
Cinematcher, which is like Tinder for crewing up. I hate saying that because I don't like associating dating with professional things, but that's
people
how they
get
talk
it.
About it.
They get it.
Yeah. It is. They're going to provide professional concierge to help you crew up in your hometown if you haven't done that before, if you need to expand your network. So that's the plan. It's super exciting. I will say submissions opened June 28th. They will close August 25th, so that you have an additional 2 weeks to make sure your campaign is really ready to go.
Okay.
We've already received 160 plus submissions from 83 unique locations.
Wow. That is incredible. And I've just got to tell you, the Duplass Brothers, watching their puffy chair film on the Sundance Channel years ago is really what inspired me to make my first film. And I know so many other people as well. So that's amazing. And I just love their spirit, like yours, in really being such advocates of helping independent filmmakers. So congratulations on this partnership. This is freaking so exciting.
Yeah, it's really cool. And the cool thing is they're ready to do it next year and the year after also.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Before we head out, my gosh, I can talk to you all day. You're such a just tremendous, tremendous source of inspiration and knowledge and information. Thank you so much, Emily. Before we head out, though, I want to ask you, and this has, well, maybe it does have something to do with it, but a sort of philosophical question just for fun. Do you,
Okay.
Emily Best, do you feel that you were put on this planet at this particular time for a specific reason, or is your being here just random?
Wow. I was not ready for this question.
I know.
Uh, no, I don't feel like I have a divine purpose. I think I am very much made up of my very different from one another parents, with a heavy dose of like a profound sense of justice, and stubbornness. And so I would say if you were to look at how I arrived here, you would agree with me that it must have been completely by accident. But that I count myself extremely lucky to wake up every day and get to work on a really hard problem that I care a lot about with people I love. But it was completely bizarre how I ended up here. So no, I feel like I meet people and they like landed on the planet and were like, I am going to be an actor. Right. And they are that from like day one, and everything they do is amazing and their performances are incredible. And they like find like some sort of seed of divine inspiration and they just pursue that. I am not one of those people. I admire those people, but man, if you looked at what I was doing when I was 21, 25, 27, 30, you'd be like, when is she ever going to get to the thing that looks anything like what she's doing now? So I had no idea what I was going to do for the longest time.
Love it. Love it, love it, love it. And with that, good people, we are out. Thank you so much, Emily. Where can people find you besides seedandspark.com?
So Seed and Spark, you can follow at Seed&Spark everywhere we can be followed. And I am at Emily Best on Twitter.
Thank you so much, Emily, for hanging out with us today. Thank you, Seed and Spark, yes, for existing. And thank you, Indie Film Tribe, for hanging out with Emily and I today. Until next time, bye.